Good morning. After years of uncertainty, we have a path forward for a baseball in Anaheim. As part of Anaheim negotiating team, I'm unveiling a proposal to keep Angels baseball here for the next 30 plus years. For every fan who told us to keep the Angels in Anaheim, and this proposal does exactly that. For Anaheim, this proposal would bring millions of dollars for our neighborhoods and help provide more affordable housing and parks. It will also bring ongoing revenue to our city for years to come. Best of all, there would be no taxpayer stadium funding and no impact to Anaheim budget except to add to it. When I became a mayor a year ago, one of my top priorities was to keep Angels in a way that benefits our residents and neighborhood. And in January, I reached out to Angels owner Artie Marino about a fresh start on negotiations. That was the first step to where we are today. I want to thank Artie for his commitment to our city. It is clear the Angels share Anaheim's vision for the future of baseball here. This proposal reflects what I have heard from the community and also from my city council colleagues. Keep baseball in Anaheim. A fair market price for the land. Money to invest in our neighborhoods. Ongoing revenue for our city for years to come. Affordable housing, parks, good paying union construction jobs for Anaheim. A deal that improves on what we have now. I'm pleased to see this proposal addresses those priorities. And it would ensure another generation of baseball for Anaheim and all of Orange County. I would like to ask Communication Director Mike Lester to go over the proposal in detail with you.
So everyone, we have a visual representation here of where we are with this proposal, and I can kind of walk you through it to help you understand a little bit more about what we're talking about. So as Mayor Sadhu said, the first part of this agreement is that the Angels would commit to stay in Anaheim through at least 2050 with the option of 15 additional years here, and we would hope many beyond that as well. That is the big news that we are announcing today. Then part of the deal, of course, is a land and stadium proposal to be sold. We would sell Angel Stadium of Anaheim, which we have built and owned since 1966. We would actually sell that to the ownership of Angels Baseball. The stadium is here, and with it would come all of the acreage of land around the stadium. There are a lot of benefits for us as a city. We've enjoyed owning the stadium, and it is indeed a matter of pride for us. But the current trend in sports is towards private ownership of sports facilities. The Dodgers just up the road, their stadium happens to be privately owned, and the new home of the Golden State Warriors in San Francisco is privately owned. This is the new trend that relieves cities of some of the responsibility that comes with owning a sports facility. And of course, what would we get for it? We would potentially get a lot for it. We would get a lot of money, potentially, for us to turn around and invest in our neighborhoods. We hear from our residents all the time about things that they may need in their neighborhoods, parks, street improvements, all of these things that are so essential to everyday life here in Anaheim. And this has the potential to bring money that our city council could consider to allocate to projects in our neighborhoods. And then, of course, there could be development with this. This land around the stadium is so valuable that there could be potential development as part of our long-term planning for the area around the stadium. We don't know what that might look like just yet, but if you go around the stadium today, you will see urban-style homes, restaurants, office buildings. We would imagine that this would continue to help us fulfill that vision of a lively, urban-style downtown built around sports, with the Angel Stadium and with Honda Center right next door, home of the Anaheim Ducks. And that development, should it come to fruition down the road, would bring yearly revenue for us as a city that we would see year in, year out, and also be able to bring to bear on all of the things that we do for our residents and businesses and visitors to Anaheim. As part of any potential proposal, we are looking for community benefits. What are these? Simply, we are looking for affordable housing as part of any development that we could see. We are looking for additional parks and open space. We desperately need that in the area around the stadium today and would look to this land to help us provide that critical need. We would also want to see any construction jobs related to development around the stadium be good paying union jobs that actually prioritize Anaheim residents, also veterans and perhaps folks recovering from homelessness as well. So we would ask for many of these community benefits as part of a proposal, and it's very important that we note that if our partners at the Angels are able to help us provide this, we could potentially offer them a credit on the final purchase price of the land in the stadium. For us as a city, our biggest challenge to providing affordable housing and park space is getting land and getting developers to build it for us. So we will look to see if in the early planning of this land, we could actually bring those things into those early stages of planning and make them a reality, with a benefit coming to our partners at the Angels for helping us to provide those critical community priorities that we are looking for. And lastly, here is the vision that we have for the area around the stadium. We refer to it as the Platinum Triangle. And right now you have urban-style apartments. There's more than $1 billion in investment going on around the stadium today, and we see that increasing in years to come. Whatever is built there will be distinctly Anaheim, but there are many great examples around our state and our country that you could draw inspiration from. Petco Park in San Diego is a fantastic experience, both at the ballpark and everything around it. Staples Center in LA is a very good example. Golden One up in Sacramento is also a great one. So there's a lot of inspiration, and those are certainly some of the goals that we have for this area. A very dynamic area built around sports that could be a downtown for not only just Anaheim, but all of Orange County. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Mayor Sadhu for some closing remarks.
Thank you. We still have work ahead of us and much to consider. But we know there is a great interest in this issue. That is why, as promised, we are sharing this proposal with the community. We expect first part of this proposal to go before our city council in a special meeting on December 20th. Early next year, our city council will consider a development and community benefit agreements. In the next few weeks and months, everyone will have a chance to learn more about this proposal and what it means to Anaheim. I thank you all for joining us today. Like Mike Lester said, I have another event, Anaheim Economic Development at the Convention Center. I have to go, and thank you again for being here.
Now, I'd be happy to take and potentially answer whatever questions you might have, as we're best able to at this stage in the process. So, any questions?
By selling the stadium and the land, what does the city of Anaheim give up?
Sure, good, very good question. So with it, we get two benefits from the stadium. Or actually, we see two things from the stadium. The first of which, we do share in revenue that comes from the stadium. We share part of ticket and parking revenue once it reaches a certain threshold. And we do have all the details in the fact sheet for precise information there. We would certainly forego that if we were no longer owners and leasers of the stadium. But I have to be very clear, we would actually see offsetting savings that would basically balance that out. Because also as the owner of the stadium, we have to provide a yearly contribution to what's called capital expense, but what that means is money that goes to major improvement projects at the stadium. Currently, in our most recent fiscal year, that was $700,000. So it ranges about $1 million each year that we have to contribute to the upkeep of the stadium. If we go out to the longest end point of the current lease we have now, that would equal $17 million for us as a city that we would contribute over the next roughly 20 years. So even though we would forego revenue, we would also forego expenses that would basically balance each other out. And then what does that leave us? The real value proposition for us having sports in our city is the ancillary economic benefit that it brings. So we have folks who will come, of course, to games. They will visit some of the breweries and restaurants alongside the stadium. They'll spend money at the stadium itself. And because of our unique profile with Disneyland, we are a high-profile visitor city. We actually have people that will travel to our city to not only attend a game, but perhaps visit Disneyland as well. The best example are the visitors from Japan that we see with Shohei Ohtani at the Angels. So those are the real benefits that we as a city get from having a stadium in our city.
Have the Angels given you any idea what they want to do with the parking lot?
It is still early yet, and we will begin discussions on that in the early part of 2020. But just speaking in very broad terms, the entire area has a plan for urban-style homes, restaurants, entertainment-type uses. So speaking in general terms, not knowing exactly what they will come up with in the final plan they may submit to us, we generally see it falling within the vision of the Platinum Triangle, which again, you can find good examples throughout our state with an LA Live or Petco Park, those types of experiences for folks who may enjoy sports in those cities.
Does this include the Grove?
It does happen to include the Grove. So the Grove it's the City National Grove of Anaheim. It is a 1,700 seat theater just adjacent to the stadium. And we currently have a lease for that facility. We anticipate that the Grove will keep going for the foreseeable future. And its long-term future would be part of any ultimate development plan that we might see.
The 820 acres in the Platinum Triangle, does that include the 153 acres of the stadium, or is that?
It includes it. So you can see that the stadium is a fairly significant chunk of that.
It looks like this is a done deal, but there's still work to do?
No, and let me be very clear on that. We are sharing what at this stage is a proposal. And as Mayor Sadu said, we are sharing it because we know there is such strong public interest in this topic. We've had many questions. It's been the number one thing talked about at our city council throughout the year. So we know people are interested in this topic. And of course, we had to go through a process of discussion with the Angels that we needed to have between us and them. But now we feel we are at the stage with a proposal that we can go out and at least share the broad overview of this proposal. What we would expect to happen, we still need to continue discussions with the Angels about fine points beyond these big concepts that we've shared here today. And then, of course, there's a public process that has to happen. Our city council would, of course, have to publicly approve, vote on, consider anything involving the land. That would come in phases with potentially additional meetings and discussions to be had in early 2020. And then, of course, the special meeting that the mayor referenced on December 20th of this coming up in just a few weeks.
How worried are you about the contract coming up at the end of next year? How worried is the city of the Angels will leave, and what would that mean if they did?
Sure. Well, we never take anything for granted regarding hosting any sports team here. But what I will say is that we've always had a high degree of confidence in what Anaheim offers the Angels. I will put forth that this is the easiest, best sports stadium to get to in Southern California. I love facilities in San Diego and Los Angeles, but they don't have the access that this one has. 3 freeways, a train station integrated into the parking lot. That is an incredible, valuable proposition for any team. The ease of in and out, the fantastic location. They have drawn 3 million fans here for the past 17 seasons, putting them in the elite group of baseball. Last year, there were only 5 teams to draw 3 million people, and part of that has to do with Anaheim. So while we don't take anything for granted, we know that we do have a very strong proposition here for the Angels, and I think this reflects that.
What are you hearing from the people of Anaheim? Are they calling the mayor's office? Are they really concerned about this?
Most folks, we have heard at our city council meetings folks expressing opinions, and we will hear a variety of opinions on it. But the overriding opinion that we hear is folks say they want to see baseball continue here. Now, of course, they want to see it continue in a way that benefits our city. They would want to see any deal to be fair, and we believe we have the makings of that here. The Angels, I think, share the same vision we have, that we want to keep baseball here, but it's got to be done in a way that brings benefit to our city. And this proposal definitely has the potential to bring benefit to our city.
December 20th is the city council meeting where this will be discussed at, but are there any deadlines after that, hard deadlines that you all need to meet?
Well, there is one deadline that has been talked about quite a bit, and as part of the Angels lease, they have what is called an opt-out option that they could potentially exercise. What that means is if they were planning to make a move, they would have to let us know by December 31st, giving us a year's notice before they might actually leave. Now, this is all hypothetical. That is something that has been in the back of our minds as we've worked on negotiations. We want to get to a point where that opt-out option is really just not a variable for us, that it's not something we need to really consider. And we believe that with the proposal that we have here today, we think this sets a strong path to go forward, to continue hashing out the details of this, and to potentially work towards a final agreement in 2020.
Is there anything in your proposal that's a deal breaker for the city?
There are a lot of details yet, of course, that we still need to work out. And as we go through those, we will always be looking with the best interests of our neighborhoods and residents. So, of course, anything that would not be good for our city or good for our residents, that, of course, would be a deal breaker. At this point, we don't see anything like that. We are very pleased with where we are at this stage, and we think it represents a lot for our city.
Is there still serious interest from other cities, Long Beach, for example?
We don't. I think there are other cities that would love to have a Major League Baseball team. There are really only approximately 25 cities around the country that have them. So there are many cities that would like to have it. We don't know of the status of any sort of courting going on at the moment, but we'll leave it at the fact that we know other cities would love to have it. But again, going back to Anaheim, while we don't take anything for granted, we certainly wouldn't envy a city starting from scratch, trying to get a baseball team. We, for 53 years now, we have hosted baseball in our city. We get approximately 40,000 people in and out of the stadium on a game day or night with relative ease. We make it look easy. We've already got this incredible head start to hosting professional sports, events, visitors. It's an advantage that we have. But we certainly know other cities would love to have what we have.
So basically, the team and the city are on board with the broad strokes of this. It's just now the public has to agree and some finer points have to be worked out.
Yes, that is a good assessment. The proposal we have presented today is the result of 3 negotiation sessions that we had with the Angels management. And so it definitely reflects where we both are and how we feel comfortable sharing the proposal at this stage. But yes, as the mayor said, we still have work ahead of us and there's still a process ahead of us.